All right, welcome to the second video in 1.6. We're going to talk about function composition. So you might recognize that as like f following g of x. Okay, or g following f of x. Or you could actually also take, let's say, g following g of x, all sorts of things. Okay, so we're going to take all four of these. Now, the domain also has a little bit, it's very similar to how the division worked. You have to consider the domain of the final expression and consider the domain of the inside. Okay, so you have to consider the domain of the final expression and the domain of the inside function. Okay, so let's do a couple examples. Let's start with one where we don't really have domain issues. Okay, so first problem we're going to have is we're going to take f of x equals 5x plus 1. G of x is 2x squared minus 1. Okay, so there's no domain issues. These domains are both negative infinity to infinity. Let's take f following g of x. Okay, so f following g of x, I like to think of it, we're going to take f on the outside. So this is f of g of x. Okay, so we could write that as, well, what's f again? F is 5x plus 1. So we're going to write this as 5g plus 1. And what's g? G is 2x squared minus 1. So wherever we see that g, we're going to replace it by 2x squared minus 1. Okay, and then doing a little bit of algebra magic. 10x squared minus 5 plus 1 is going to be minus 4. And the domain here is going to be from negative infinity to infinity. Okay. Do another one. Let's do with these same two. Let's do g following g of x. Okay. So that's g of g of x. All right. So that's going to be, well, we're going to take 2 g squared minus 1. All right. 2g squared minus 1. Well, what's g? G is again 2x squared minus 1. So 2 times 2x squared minus 1 minus 1. And then do a little bit of algebra magic. 4x squared minus 2 minus 2 minus 1. So 4x squared minus 3. And the domain is again negative infinity to infinity. Okay. Of course, I always have to make things hard because that's part of my job and part of my life. The mission is to make things hard. Not really. But let's take f of x equals 1 over 2x minus 1. And g of x equals 1 over x squared. Okay, so now you have to remember we're doing the inside function. We also have to consider the domain of this. Okay, so let's start with, let's take f following g. f following g of x is going to be, well, 1 over 2g minus 1. The g minus 1 will show up. There we go. Equals 1 over 2. Now g is 1 over x squared minus 1. Okay. So now let's write that. That's 1 over 2 over x squared minus 1. Okay. Now 1, I'm going to write it as 2 over 2. I was so tempted to just erase the 1 and write it as 2 over 2, but that would have been bad practice. Okay. And that was bad math. It's not 2 over 2, but x over x. Sorry about that. Actually, x squared over x squared. Okay. Now, this is going to be, or this actually comes out to 1 over 2 minus x squared over x squared, which is x squared over 2 minus x squared. So this is our final expression after making a couple of, almost making a couple of mistakes. Okay. What is our domain? Well, first, x cannot equal 0. Okay, why? The 1 over x squared. We can't have x in the denominator. I'm sorry, we can't have 0 in the denominator, right? But what other values of x are thrown out? We can't have plus or minus the square root of 2. Because otherwise we'll have 0 in this denominator. The 1/2, I don't need to worry about that because that's on the outside function, okay? So we've already sort of played around with that. That's what's happening here, okay? Because we've played around with the f, we've replaced that x by 1 over x squared, so we no longer have to worry about what makes 2x minus 1 equals 0. We already figured out what makes 2g minus 1 equals 0. Okay, let's just write that in interval notation. Okay, so the domain here in interval notation is like so. Okay. All right. I will see you guys in, well, no, let's just go on because I want to keep going here. As I said so. So let's just remember what our f and g were. So same f and same g. So f of x was 1 over 2x minus 1. G of x is 1 over x squared. Let's do g following g. Okay, g following g of x, that's going to be 1 over g squared equals 1 over x squared, which is x squared. That looks perfectly acceptable, except on our inside function, okay, our inside function g of x, you have to avoid x equals 0. So we still have to throw out x equals 0. Okay, so our domain is going to be negative infinity to 0 together with 0 to infinity. All right? All right. I'll see you guys in the next video.